Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. As always, I'm Andrew Scaff. He's Mike Werman. He's a medieval historian. I'm a biochemist. We're going to talk about sports. But first, we're going to have a conversation with our special guest today, speech-language pathologist, Marina Mitchell. Welcome to the show, Marina.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to add some disagreement to this show.
Too much agreeing in the first show?
Entirely too much agreeing.
Yeah, so the first person that we've shown any footage from our first show to was Marina, and we wanted to invite her on to let her pick apart our show or give us constructive criticism, however she deems fit.
I would say you guys were entirely too agreeable.
I disagree.
Mike would make a statement. Andrew would agree. Andrew would make a statement. Mike would agree.
Oh, we make good points. It's tough to really argue with such, reasoned logic.
But in that case, you guys can put yourselves in more situations, at least pick topics that you're going to have some level of disagreement on. And I think that's where us later, when we talk about Cam Newton, I think that's going to help.
Even inviting you here, we had a lot of disagreement on.
All right. I had a little element of spice.
Yeah.
Was my nickname in high school, by the way, Spice.
Element of spice.
Element of Spice.
You're angling for my job. Yes.
If you Google element of spice, you will see a few pictures of me from my high school days.
Spice isn't an element.
Element. It's just a small portion.
Not actual spice, just
no. An element, just a piece.
Concept that spice represents.
Did you notice in that reference, Andrew and I had the same size of hands?
Mine was much further away from the camera.
It's hard to
Same size, though.
Yes.
What do you think of our backgrounds?
Love the background. So I was also surprised that Mike's background was as clean and organized. That surprised me. And then Andrew, I was shocked because I feel like I know Andrew pretty well. And he does not hang anything up on his walls. And yet there were things on his walls. That surprised me. I even sent him a message and asked, do you hang things on your walls now? Because I didn't think you did that sort of thing.
That was a COVID reaction, realizing that I was going to have to do a lot of video conferencing. No one wants to look at a blank wall behind you, so I rearranged my room. And
are those real books behind you, or are those just kind of movie set types of books?
They are actual books.
Are they actually liquor cabinets that look like?
He doesn't read books.
I've not read any of them at all. I just have them.
But most of the books are sports related. I've been in that office.
There's hardly any sports books up here, actually. This shelf's all biochemistry.
Oh, then you've unpacked. Those used to be in a box.
Yeah, I unpacked some stuff to make it look like I,
live there.
Know things. Then
what else
as I watched the first show,
what other shortcomings?
I just watched. Basically, I felt like Andrew was always the same person. That surprised me because I've spent a considerable amount of time with Andrew. I would say more time with him than a lot of other people, and I was just surprised that he was always the same. I just expected a different version of
you think I was
Andrew.
Playing a character when
I did.
Unfortunately,
do other things in the world, or
but I did enjoy some of my favorite parts were with Mike.
It's understandable.
Give us 5 examples of things you liked in the show. 5.
Okay.
5. That's gonna be impossible.
No, it's easy to do.
How about
I enjoy your rapport together, so you can definitely tell you guys have known each other a long time.
So you like a rapport, but
I love the rapport, but I don't want you to be as agreeable. I definitely think you need to add in some level of disagreement. And I think when I say somebody who could disagree a little bit more, Andrew, I'm speaking directly to you. You're so agreeable. Like Mike already he's got a little bit of disagreement in him, but Andrew, you're just way too nice.
This is where I just put you in the
Get
way.
rid of me. But
Marina-
all of a sudden I'm gone. Marina leaves the team. But so that I enjoyed. I also enjoyed when Mike brought up this idea of Granger. I don't know, just thought it was hilarious. The idea that there's, I don't know, what's Granger do? Is he a baseball player or a football player?
Jeff Granger was a former Royals draft pick who did not turn out to be a very good player, at least for the Royals. But yeah, as I said, his Wikipedia page made him look pretty good. His stats were only, I think he had a 3.09 ERA on his Wikipedia page. It was really a 9.09 ERA, according to BaseballReference.com. And I'm not sure who monkeyed with that page, but it could have been Jeff Granger.
But at first, when you first referenced Wikipedia, I was concerned about your ability to understand that that was not a valid reference point. So a lot of your credibility right away was gone for a few minutes. Then when you made the joke that he was probably editing his Wikipedia page, you got me back in. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the hypothetical situations that you guys would give each other. I felt like that's when you came a little bit more alive. That was fun to watch. I also enjoyed the what would you or what should this person have done. I enjoyed that piece as well. Yeah. And then of course, like seeing you guys for, like 95 minutes. That was also one of my favorite parts.
Most people
right, that's right. You saw the unedited, the uncut full version from the beginning.
And it took me like 2.5 hours to watch it because I had to pause it because every time I was interrupted, I didn't just let it run. I watched it in its entirety.
I assume you're going to pause it and you're like, oh God, stop.
Mm-hmm. It took, I believe, I'd have to go back and watch the unedited version again, 46 minutes before I was mentioned. And it came from Mike. Andrew, that was hurtful.
I think we cut that part out, actually. So.
I haven't watched
I was the one who mentioned you because it was the Yadier Molina neck tattoo thing, which I thought you might have an opinion on.
Yeah, I had
it
hurt that it took that long for me to be mentioned, but Yeah. I just think it should be mentioned in the first 2 minutes because Marina going to join us today. Oh, she's not coming on. Okay. And I think it should come from Andrew.
Next time when you're not on, we'll mention you quite a bit. NFL, lots of news. The season, it seems like, is going to carry on mostly as planned. Perhaps a shortened preseason they announced today. But in the last week, probably the biggest announcement was the New England Patriots signing of former Carolina Panthers and current free agent quarterback Cam Newton, once one of the stars of the NFL, 2015 MVP, as perhaps their new starting quarterback. They still have Jarrett Stidham, who was the anointed starter after Tom Brady decamped for Tampa Bay. But what do you guys think of the Cam Newton signing? Do you think that makes the Patriots a more dangerous team? Do you think Cam Newton can recapture some of his former magic? Does that mean that the Patriots are back?
You want it first, Marina?
I do, actually. Thank you.
Go for it.
I think it's a great choice. And I don't think any of Cam Newton's prior injuries are going to necessarily be a negative. I think he's going to come in and he's going to be proof that Tom Brady was not the reason that the Patriots were a strong team. And I think that it's actually going to give more relevance to the rest of the football, the other members of the team versus just Tom Brady. So personally, I'm looking forward to it. I think Cam's going to have his best year yet. Andrew, what do you think?
Well, yeah, best year yet is very possible just in wins because the team's actually pretty good. So
he did win 15 games out of 16 for the 2015.
That's pretty tough, but he has the possibility of having a very good season at least with a good cast of team around him. So he's never really been surrounded by people put in place by somebody like their wonderful coach, Bill Belichick, everybody's favorite. To actually see what he can do as an actual quarterback and not just do whatever he wants. They were projected somewhere around 8 or 9 wins without Newton. I think he'd probably add at least a couple wins to the projections, and I think they have to instantly be a playoff contender, though, don't you think, Mike?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they were a playoff contender already. But I don't, again, they seem pretty high on Stidham. Usually they do fine when they have their backup.
Who's thrown 4 NFL passes?
Well, they did. They went 11-5 with Matt Castle. They, had a good. Garoppolo won most of his games when he started with them. Their backups do almost as well or as Tom Brady, at least in win-loss record. So I don't think it really matters usually who the quarterback is because it's such a good system.
We're always talking about reverting to a lesser-known, maybe not quite as good quarterback. Now you actually have somebody that is proven stepping into that role instead of just some guy they found.
I think Newton would be fine. I don't know if he would be better necessarily at this point in his career than a young guy like Stidham. Again, Stidham's only thrown 4 passes in his career, and one of those was a pick 6 against the Jets last year. But the question I think is about Newton's injuries. He's got shoulder injuries, which seems to be a problem if you're going to throw the ball. He's got chronic foot injury, which seems to be a problem because he likes to run the football a lot. And so those are his, again, those are probably 2 of the worst places to be injured if you're a quarterback. From what I've read also, he's what's called a Liz Frank injury, which involves the middle part of his foot. A lot of dancers and people get that when their bones kind of spread apart of their ligaments. I'd be confused with
notoriously difficult to
Lisa Frank injury, but it was I think I don't know if his foot isn't healthy, even if his shoulder's healthy. I think it's still a bit of a problem because I think one of the big things that Newton has going for him is again he is a threat to run, and he was always he wasn't just a running quarterback, but he ran for usually 600 or 700 yards every year, and that was one reason why he had so much success, especially on third down. If he's healthy, I think that would be great, but also again I don't know again how much leeway he's going to have in the Patriots system either, because they seem to really like kind of statuesque quarterbacks, in the worst sense of the word statuesque. Because Brady just stood there most of the time, and then
What's the role though what's the role on a football team of a quarterback? Aren't they the one who also often determines the plays? So couldn't his role be part of determining the plays? Maybe he's not necessarily the running quarterback. Maybe he's the one that determines where the ball's going to go though.
Usually more about when the play breaks down.
Yeah, it's when the play breaks down, whether he can improvise. And Brady was better at that probably than people give him credit for. But I think also that Josh McDaniels, who's been the offensive coordinator there for a long, long time, I think he has a certain system that he likes. And I think they tend to want to fit people into their system
versus
their system to the people that they have. I think
maybe they have all these old plays they wanted to run that somebody like Brady couldn't do.
That's true, but I think Stidham though is supposed to be very mobile as well. He's a lot younger. Hasn't had an injury history, so maybe he would be able to run it better than Newton. But I have no idea. Newton, if he has anywhere near to his previous form, he of course would probably be leaps and bounds better than Stidham. But I think that's a really big question.
But without him, if they're projected to win 8 to 9 games, don't you think adding him probably adds maybe at least a game or two? Just to be even okay.
I think
especially the price they got him for too, which is almost nothing.
I think their division's a little bit tougher this year because I think the Bills are quite a bit improved. Again, the Bills have a huge question mark at quarterback as well with Josh Allen. He's pretty erratic, but they got Stephon Diggs as a new wide receiver, who is better than any of the Patriots wide receivers. Julian Edelman's 35 years old now. He's the only decent option that's another thing. Who is Newton or Stidham going to throw to? Gronk is in Tampa. He didn't even play last year. They had N'Keal Harry was their rookie. He was kind of awful last year.
But if you were to make a prediction, how many games do you think the Patriots are going to win this year? I'm going with 13.
I think they can go. I think 11-5 isn't out of the question. I think they can go 11-5 with just about anybody. I don't think well, let's see. There's who do they play this year? What's their schedule? They play AFC East. I think they'll go at least probably. They lost last year to
Miami, right?
At home.
That was a fluke.
That was a fluke, but then they lost at home to Tennessee, and they beat Buffalo twice. I don't think they'll beat Buffalo twice again. At least, well, maybe if they do, I think they'll win 11 or 12 games for sure. But I think
you can probably write in pen at least 4 wins from their own division, right?
Yeah, I think they can win twice against the Jets. I think they should be able to beat Miami twice. I don't think Miami is as improved as people want to say Miami's improved. I'd say 5 wins probably in the division should are pretty good odds. Maybe moving down to 4. The Chiefs?
Then they have 10 other games, right? So I mean, if they just win 4 of those, they're already at
So let's go through their schedule. First game is home against the Dolphins. Let's call that a win.
No win.
At the Seahawks, that's going to be
no
tough.
win.
I'd say loss at the Seahawks. At home against the Raiders, 2-1. At the Chiefs, 2-2.
They'll win one of those.
Home against the Broncos, 3-2.
They'll lose the Broncos.
Home against the 49ers, that's going to be tough.
They're going to lose to the 49ers.
I think 3-3.
Mm-hmm.
At the Bills, let's say 3-4.
2-4. Now 3-4 for Marina.
Mm-hmm.
At the Jets, let's say 4-4. Home against the Ravens, probably 4-5.
Mm-hmm.
At the Texans, another tough one. 5-5, 4-6.
They'll win that one.
Let's say 4-6. Let's just be pessimists. Home against the Cardinals, 5-6. At the Chargers, I think they can win 6-6. At the Rams, who knows what the Rams are going to be like by the end of the season.
The Rams are still a team? They shouldn't be.
Well, 7. I guess they could be at the Rams. 7-6. At the Dolphins, 8-6. I think they could finish well, but I think that early schedule seems pretty tough, though. That kind of early to mid schedule. So I think 11-5 is going to be a tough outing, unless, especially because again, this is a weird off season where if we're bringing in a new quarterback and he wants to work with his new players, there's not going to be a lot of time to do that, and that's going to have to come as the season goes along. So I think the start could be kind of rough, especially because he doesn't have, I guess, like the Chiefs have everybody back. They haven't lost anybody. It doesn't, and it's not going to be it's not going to be that difficult kind of reestablishing the.
But with COVID-19, I think it changes the dynamics of all the teams and their ability to really practice together. So I think that's an advantage to Cam coming in.
I think it's an advantage to the teams that have already worked together, and it's a big disadvantage to the teams that are kind of have new stuff happening, which is what Newton is. I think that's a disadvantage because I think Stidham is the one who has been there. Again, he's the backup, and he's, but he has been practicing, I guess, or at least been in the meetings and things like that virtually. I don't know how. I'm not sure how much Newton absorbs by sitting on the computer and kind of talking to his coaches through Zoom channels or things like that. I think that could be tough as well.
Starting like 2 days ago, right?
Yeah. Newton is pretty laptop savvy from his days at Florida State.
As many digs towards Cam as you can. As many digs as you can. Andrew, I'm assuming you agree with Mike?
About
all of it?
In particular. None of it. I disagree. Whatever he said is all wrong. All of it was
exactly. That's the kind of show I want to watch.
It's fortunate that, again, I don't think Josh Allen is a very good quarterback, and I don't think he's going to really improve that much, but maybe he will. But I think they're fortunate being in the division that they're in, but a lot of those division games are coming at the end of the season.
Hasn't New England won, was it 17 straight 10-win seasons?
Something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think, I think it's going to be, when I just thought of it, I thought probably 11-5 seems probably good for New England, but that schedule seems really hard. at the beginning, because usually New England has a very easy schedule and they can kind of ease into things. Also, they tend to start slow. Even in their very good years, they tend to start pretty slow. The other story for the Patriots this week was the NFL was punishing them because they were like filming illegally the Bengals game or something like that. And so the Patriots got fined. I don't remember how much money they got fined. $2 million.
Another $1 billion, which they don't care about at all.
And then they lost like a 3rd round draft pick, I think. And also they're not going to be allowed to film any of the games this year. So I guess they got to rely on the TV broadcasts or
just not. They can't cheat. They're not allowed to cheat this year.
Well, like they can't.
That's going to be a big disadvantage to them right there.
So,
once you take away cheating.
Several of their early games are against teams in states that are having large outbreaks right now too.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, the schedule could be flipped though, because they could start late, and they could maybe
fewer games.
Have. I don't think they'll have fewer games. I think they'll just play into March or whenever, because they're not gonna. I don't think they'll give up those games.
So what if we created a conspiracy theory right now, where we say that teams that the Patriots are going to play are going to have like positive COVID tests, so that they'll be depleted going into the game, so they play much weaker versions of teams that no other team will see.
I'm not that conspiracy.
Right.
The NFL did punish.
I just want to make sure that we're saying it here, so that when it
happens,
we see it first.
Yadier Molina, St. Louis Cardinals catcher, very good player for many years. Then, like 7 or 8 years into his career, he suddenly shows up with these giant neck tattoos on both sides of his neck, and they just looked really stupid, of course. But he must have thought they looked cool. Somebody else probably also thought that they looked cool. We were just wondering if any women would think that would be.
So I get to speak for all women.
Yes,
well, you're the only woman that we know and whose biggest talking point.
As the woman in your lives, I get to be all women. That's great. Definitely depends. So for the most part, you probably don't want to marry a man with a neck tattoo, but an evening of entertainment with a man with a neck tattoo would probably be fun to engage in, because there's some mystery, and you also know that they're a little bit of a dangerous human because they're willing to like put something on their neck that they're always going to have. Women do not find the neck tattoos or the face tattoos especially attractive. So I would leave that off your to-do list. Like if that was an item on your agenda that you were going to do for the weekend. So Andrew's like all covered. Andrew, shave your beard. What's under that beard?
Leave the other ones under.
Face
I bet
tattoos.
Andrew has a neck tattoo.
That's
under
why
that
I have
beard.
the beard, is to cover up the face tattoos.
A decision you made in your 20s that you now regret.
Well,
Maybe.
I just like to keep hidden anyway.
Right?
Me.
Would you get my name tattooed somewhere on your body?
It was great having you, Marina.
Thank you.
You're a breath of fresh air. Whew.
The Patriots probably still get like the same playoff position seed, and they still exit at the same place they would with or without Cam Newton.
You think so? Yeah.
Probably. They might be a game or two better in record, but I still don't think they're anywhere close to the Ravens or the Chiefs, though.
I think the Ravens and Chiefs are the two clearly best teams. I think the Texans could be the third best team if they did not have a certain person as both coach and GM. And
right.
Yeah.
Because it sounded like there's only one other team that even like looked at Cam closely anyway. I guess that was the Browns, but it didn't go. The conversation didn't go anywhere.
I didn't hear about the Browns. Okay, that would be interesting.
Would have been.
That would have been compete. Yeah. Who's the backup behind Baker Mayfield? Do you know?
Don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Would have been. Yeah, that would have been interesting.
It seems like it would be a good choice, though, right? But it's the thing.
Lit a fire under Baker.
Right, but it's not. He's not necessarily like a threat for the job because you don't know if he's if Newton's healthy or not.
And Mayfield is 1 year younger, at least 1 year younger in the league than then Trubisky. Trubisky this is going to be his 4th season. It's only going to be Mayfield's 3rd season, so you might give him another year to kind of establish himself.
I think that's what we're talking about. Like Newton signing with either the Bears or the Browns would have been a different situation than what actually happened, and then signing with Patriots, because now we're assuming that Newton is the starter, like from the beginning, right?
I think we'd assume Newton was the starter if Trubisky, if it was Newton or Trubisky, though.
But Trubisky's been the starter, so you think that going into spring, at least into not spring training, but preseason, that they would at least be a competition, right? But they would probably favor Trubisky being the starter.
If Newton were healthy, I don't think
he'd have like the thumb on the scale, right?
Yeah. If Newton were healthy, known to be healthy, I don't think there would have been. Or if it was a normal off season, I don't think that would have been a question. There were odds that Vegas was taking about who was going to start the quarterback for the Bears this year, whether it was Foles or I think whether it was Foles or Trubisky. Trubisky was a pretty heavy favorite. Even though he was a heavy favorite, I remember people on VSiN, the gaming network that I listen to all the time, they were saying that would be an easy bet that Trubisky would be the starter no matter what Foles did.
Really?
But
no matter what Foles did,
no matter how great Foles played,
right.
Trubisky was still going to get a chance. But I said if Newton had been brought in, that would have been a different story.
Mm.
I heard that from, I don't remember.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that at all about the no matter what Foles does. But if Trubisky's, it's not no matter what Trubisky does, because if Trubisky's bad, he's out, right?
Yeah, I think they're going to give him every chance to
be
the starter on day one, and if he, performs poorly the first couple of weeks of the season, I think he's going to get yanked. I think they're going to stick with Foles. They're going to go with Foles. And then unless Foles does really badly, they might bring him back. But I think they think Mitchell's psyche is fairly fairly fragile, from what I read. I don't know if that's true or not, but that just seems to be kind of how people treat him.
Right.
He doesn't have, maybe rightfully so, he doesn't have a lot of confidence in his ability right now.
Apparently, after a very long time, I guess the Chiefs have been like advertising, offering up the naming rights to the field or the stadium. We're not entirely sure what it looks like, but the GEHA insurance company is looking at becoming an advertising partner with the Chiefs and maybe naming the field or stadium after them. What you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have thoughts on that. I tend not to like the corporate named stadiums, especially when they rename a stadium that's been known by a specific name for many, many years.
And in our stadium, right?
In our stadium, especially, yeah. One of the things I do like about the Kansas City stadiums, former Royal Stadium, now Kauffman Stadium, and then Arrowhead Stadium. Arrowhead, since it's been built in the early 70s, has been called Arrowhead Stadium, and I think that represents to the Chiefs. At this point, I think it's one of the oldest stadiums left in the NFL after Lambeau Field, Soldier Field. Again, those two stadiums, of course, have no corporate sponsorship.
Right.
The newer ones that tend to get built are kind of known by the company that builds them or that pays for the rights from the get go. Ford Field or MetLife Stadium or whatever. But I don't like the renaming of it seems cheap. It seems like it's something that gets you a couple $1 million, I guess, which that's a lot of money.
It's a cash grab though, right?
I don't have that much money, but I don't know what it really does for the company that puts its name on there either, especially a company like Gaia or GEHA, however you want to say it. I don't even know how to say it. Maybe that's why they want it to be advertised, but you're only eligible to get that if you're a government employee, at least at this point. And, it's not like, it seems like it's sort of a thing that all government employees get anyway, right?
At least have access to. So, yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure how
when a new employee comes in and they fill out their HR paperwork, then GEHA is going to show up as their possible insurance provider. I don't understand why anything outside of that would be necessary for advertising, unless they're just know it from the stadium that's in Kansas City. That seems like a silly reason to buy
Yeah.
insurance.
And what was it? And they're supposedly called like Geha Field, GEHA Field
At Arrowhead.
Arrowhead. Probably GEHA. We think they say all four letters. There's not really a Geha. It's unless they had advertising that kind of got that name into people's heads, or I guess I was looking earlier.
A regular like non-government employee would never see that anywhere in their lives.
I was looking earlier today to see how to pronounce the company, whether you just said the letters or if it was an acronym that word, but I couldn't find that. At least through a few minutes of Google searching or looking on their website. So a Geico used to be a government called Government Employees Insurance Company. I think you used to have to be a government employee to get car insurance through Geico. And they
spun off into a non-government branch, right?
Yeah, 25 years ago,
right.
Those commercials started popping up. So maybe that's what, again, I thought maybe that could be what GEHA is, or GEHA is trying to do, but it just seems kind of strange. Like you get like FDIC Field or something like that. It's governmenty. It's I don't know, and it's taking away from the Arrowhead name, which I think is cool. It's like Mile High Stadium is not whatever Is it still Invesco Field or is it some other field at Mile High now?
I don't know. I think it's Invesco, but I could be wrong.
It's lame. It's a new stadium. And that is a new stadium. It wasn't the old Mile High Stadium, but when they renamed it.
Like I would expect to see the naming rights is more of a glorified thing, right? Where you're just trying to like show your corporate excess. And personally, I don't find that very appealing from an insurance company, especially a health insurance company, like showing how much money they have to throw around when they could be spending that on their insurees, right?
Well, yeah, I guess they're a nonprofit, so they have to put their money somewhere, but they aren't giving it to their shareholders. But like some things like Ford Field in Detroit, that makes sense because that's a big
I mean, GHA apparently is located in Kansas City, which I did not know before the story.
Yeah, we saw that, apparently. But it's not, or if it were, Target Field in Minneapolis, that's something a little bit different because Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, those.
And Enron Field.
Yeah. That worked out pretty well.
Nothing went wrong there, yeah.
It turned out to be more corrupt. Was it Enron or the Astros themselves that turned out to be...
Maybe the Astros influenced Enron to be doing inappropriate things.
Enron seemed to be one of many companies that was kind of shady, whereas the Astros seemed to be the only baseball team that was really doing their, that sign stealing and things like that.
Consistent, right?
They were pretty,
historical, consistent cheating, apparently, right?
Yeah, those Astros. Yeah.
So, okay, how about this? Do you find the Astros cheating and the Patriots cheating in the NFL on similar levels, or is one greater than the other?
I find the Astros much, much worse. I don't know. Maybe because I think in the NFL, there's a little bit more kind of, I don't know, skullduggery is the word, but like there's a little bit more kind of underhanded, kind of cheating a little bit. I think spying on people's practices and things like that's something that goes on quite a bit. Like the Raiders used to do that, or the Chiefs, when they were. So I think what the Patriots did with the Spygate stuff and the Deflategate stuff, like that's all kind of minor, really.
Kind of comical though, too, right?
Yeah, I think sending these, the Patriots didn't like steal the signals. I think of the other, of every team they played, it looked like maybe that's what they were trying to do, but
yeah,
I think they just were picking on the Jets.
There's still a lot more to play calls in the NFL than there are in baseball because there's essentially only 5 different pitches that can be thrown. And most pitchers don't have an arsenal of all 5 of those. So
I guess it seems like there was more in-game cheating going on,
right,
with the Astros because they had the sign, they had the blinking lights and the buzzers attached to people or something like that.
Banging on the trash cans.
Yeah, that's in-game cheating. That seems to be like the Patriots didn't seem to be doing that. They kind of were gathering information in less.
The deflated football, it seemed like it was actually working against him. them though too, right? To some extent, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't seem like the ball would fly as well if it was slightly different. You might be able to get like a better grip on the
Well,
ball.
I think they deflated because I think that's maybe what Brady liked better, right? And probably that's what
Yes.
it was his
But
preference. I don't
but
know.
it doesn't seem like a deflated football would actually like give an advantage to like the flight time of the ball or
I
right. So it's like it doesn't seem like it's necessarily benefiting them by having done it.
yeah. I don't know why because
It makes it a little funny though too.
I think maybe because I think of baseball as being somewhat more gentlemanly than football. That
It's say that, but there's been a history of cheating from the beginning of baseball though too,
I
right?
know like cork bats and stuff, but it's
Spitballs and like putting stuff
like
on the ball
that's
and
kind of colorful individual players doing things. Whereas
like
I think the science,
the emery board,
yeah, I think that's kind of
scuff
funny.
the ball.
Yeah, like when they scuff the ball or
And then like
Vaseline on the
steroids and amphetamines as like performance enhancers.
yeah. But I don't know. I think I find what the Astros did to be pretty unsavory.
It was above and beyond what the typical cheating in baseball stories are.
Yeah. Well, I guess what's the story about the '54 Giants? When who's the guy that hit Bobby Thompson hit the home run to win the pennant. Giants win the pennant.
Covered around the world.
Apparently, they were stealing signs, and there was they could tell when a fastball was coming or something like that against the Dodgers, and that
was that when they had to have a guy at second to like
I think
steal the signs there too?
something like that, or they had a guy in the
in the outfield
or something. I don't know exactly. I don't remember.
With binoculars.
Yeah, but yeah, this seemed to be so pervasive through the team and done with I don't know. It was much more coordinated. It wasn't just it wasn't low tech either, which again
was it because it was technology
signs? Like if you can decode what somebody's signs are, I don't really think that's a problem. But if you can, have a computer system that does it didn't sit well with me.
Well, I think because the big thing with the Astros was that they were like watching it on TV and then like banging on a trash can if it was a certain type of pitch or not bang if it was any other pitch. So, but they're still using like technology to see what the call is on the TV screen and then doing something, right?
Yeah.
Like the pitch signals, like most TV broadcasters and then the viewers can tell what pitch it is. Like, I mean, it's not that complicated. It's usually, one for a fastball and then
or if there's a guy on base, the codes switch up or whatever the indicator.
Right.
And kind of it's I don't know. I'm maybe because I didn't like the Astros already. I did like Altuve. I mean, that kind of disappointed me because I kind of liked Jose Altuve, but I didn't like many of the other Astros players. Maybe that was because of the way they performed against the Royals in the 2015 playoff series. How they seemed kind of, I don't know, so
maybe not quite
confident and arrogant, kind of going in thinking they were so much better than the Royals for some reason, which didn't make that much sense to me. Yeah. But once they got like a 2-1 lead, they felt like, and then got ahead and stuff. So I didn't like them at that point, but the Patriots. I don't really like Belichick, but I do kind of like that he's sort of a curmudgeonly kind of villainous character, and I like that in football. I like having a villain like that. I guess I kind of do in baseball, but
he's like willing to like dive into the rules and find the gray area on something really specific, and then exploit that.
Yeah, like the punt delay of game tactic where you can just run the clock down
burn like minutes off the clock.
Yeah,
second half.
Yeah. I think that was great. I was like, it reminds me kind of what I imagine kind of the old Raiders to have done, and since the Raiders are not the old Raiders anymore, I think that the Patriots have stepped in is kind of fun.
Like if the league's going to have dumb rules, then he's going to either point it out but use it to his advantage until they change the rule, though, right?
Yeah, and I kind of admire it, and I don't like, I don't find the Patriots style of football that fun to watch. I don't, and they I don't care for most of their players. I do like Belichick, though. I do. I think if maybe because he's a smart guy, and he's I don't know. He does his own thing, and he knows what he's doing. He's competent, and he is, he gets the job done. And I think so. I think that's what it is. Maybe I'm optimistic about the Patriots. Ooh, that's a big hornet. You see the hornet flying across my?
Yeah. Uh-oh.
I get those in here sometimes. Let me get that. Yeah,
No, it was definitely inside, wasn't it?
that was a big one. Yeah.
Jeez. How does that not happen on shows more often?
I don't know. That's a good one. I think that's the only reason we should keep this show is because there's a giant hornet that went by and could have killed me. I really dislike that minor league plan. And again, it just seems another like a petty cash grab for people that already have a bunch of money. It's
But
like
it should make the MLB worse in the long term. It's like not investing in education as like a nation, right? same kind of concept. Like if you destroy the underlying foundation of what makes your organization good, makes it like the best that it can be, and then keeping like digging at that foundation, like it's eventually going to get worse. And
I think they just
happened. That is what would happen in Major League Baseball, and that is what's happening in our country right now.
Yeah, I think the owners just don't like that other people own the minor league teams, and they have to discuss stuff with those minor league owners, and they don't like it because they think this is my team. I should be able to do what I want. And
well, can't they force the sale from the minor league team to another owner?
Yeah, why can't? Yeah, it's like I would say, why can't the Major League Baseball then just directly own the minor league teams? And that would maybe you'd lose some of the color maybe of the promotions or something like that. But I think if you had local staff and stuff around it, you'd still have some interesting things happen. But like the Royals would own their minor league affiliates rather than have somebody else. What's her name from Brockmeyer owning the team.
Right.
But I think that's their main problem. They think that they can develop players better, but I don't think they'd offer games that the public could watch, though. I think they just like all do it down in Arizona or in Florida or something.
The progression of baseball from like rookie league up through AAA is like it's 5 layers, 6 layers of progression to get to the majors, and if you damage any part of that, it's going to lessen the whole in the long run, though, right? I mean, most players don't make it to the major leagues. So I guess some teams, maybe if they're not good at development, they just be like, get rid of development entirely because we don't care. We can just poach everybody else's players.
You need bodies to practice against, though.
Right.
And that's kind of what it is. Like you're not. It's like you're finding sparring partners, like in boxing or whatever. Like, well, it's like I don't like these sparring partners, so we're not going to get rid of them. And then there's nobody that the boxer can train with. And I think that's kind of what baseball is trying to do. Like they said, well, we can do it all in house, but
it will lessen the quality of the teams overall for a long time.
Yeah, that's one thing I am pleased that the Royals are trying to do is that I think when Moore took over, the Royals even added one minor league affiliate. I think they only had 6 minor league teams, and they added a 7th, which was fairly. I think most teams only have 6, but I think a few teams have 7. I think the Royals are one of the 7. Does that ring a bell? That story?
Well, yeah, I think they added an Arizona team or something, right?
Or a second fall league team or something, or they decided to have a high A, low A, high A rookie, rookie something else.
I think they have 3 rookie league teams because there's a Dominican rookie league, and then I think 2 other rookie leagues, and then low A, high A, double, triple.
Yeah.
That's part of why I think baseball ends up being a more national sport, though, too, is because there's some affiliate in almost any decent-sized or even smallish towns, right?
Yeah.
There's some form of a baseball game to go to.
Yeah, and they're not just independent leagues. They're like Altoona. Around me, you have Altoona. I think Hagerstown, Maryland has somebody. I think Washington, Pennsylvania has somebody. There's all these little minor league teams, which is nice, I think.
I mean, even Kansas City has a second team in the T-Bones.
Yeah. Do they still have?
And that's on the complete opposite. That's about as far away within the city limits from each other as you can be. Because I would think that the smaller teams would be more likely to be able to play and possibly play with fans, especially if they're in areas where there aren't outbreaks. And the smaller the town, the less likely the outbreak.
That's probably true.
It should be okay to play in some places at least anyway.
Yeah.
But that's what's the great thing about minor league baseball. And then because it creates fans for people, for teams and the affiliates of those teams.
Yeah, and even independent league baseball, if people take their kids to the little game, they might want to go to the big stadium or something.
And play little league then maybe.
Yeah, I think that's good to have, and it's fun. I enjoyed the T-Bones.
Yeah, it's silly promotions and it's cheap and it's family oriented usually, so there's lots of stuff it can do.
Yeah, I wish the Royals would be more baseball oriented in their approach and treat the game as the most important thing rather than the stuff that's happening on the outside of the game.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fine that they have like that outfield, the kids.
Yeah, I think that's
area.
fine too. But I wish they didn't actually have to have like some sort of gimmick between
constant gimmick entertainment thing.
Yeah.
Between every half
inning, we got the K crew doing something. If they want Slugger shooting T-shirts or whatever into the crowd, they can do that as much as they want. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
But, I don't want to have to pay attention to somebody being asked questions or
between innings is for going to the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
Refilling your beer.
Yeah. Yes. I would like cheaper beer, and
that's what I always thought. The teams would probably. I mean, they must have run these financial models at some point, though. You could get by with higher ticket prices or cheaper concessions, or reversed.
Yeah.
One or the other. One of those models would have to work better than
I think there's a lot of
prudishness
about making beer cheap, though, because they don't want people to drink, even though they say that, even though they really do, but they don't. They want all those bars and things.
If people will pay $12 for beer, then they're going to offer a $12 beer. I mean, that's not
the
question, right? But the other stuff could be less.
Yeah, like the nacho. Yeah, I guess that would take away from the beer sales, maybe, if people were buying other things more. I don't know.
I mean, if it's family oriented, then people aren't going to be drinking that much anyway, right? I mean, you go to games now, half the crowd is gone by the sixth inning because it's past most kids' bedtimes, especially during the school year.
Yeah, I always think if you're going to go to the game, you might as well stay to the end of it.
Yeah, but I don't think you've been to a game for a while in Kansas City anyway.
It's been a couple of years, but especially during the school year. But we didn't go to that many. But I would say,
like when you went to games when you were a kid.
Yeah, we stuck to the
end.
Yeah, unless sometimes if it was like a super long extra inning game, we might.
Right.
Right. I don't remember really us ever leaving early.
Yeah.
Partly because you paid the money, you better get your money's worth.
Right. That doesn't seem to be what it's like anymore.
Yeah, because we're also much more. Everything is
disposable and
is for the children. It's not just that you want to have the kids watch it, but if the kids have some slight bit of discomfort, we gotta go someplace and do something that's more entertaining for them.
Yeah.
And they need to be happy and entertained 100% of the time. They can't be bored. They can't just kind of find their own things to do, count the seats or something, or there's I don't know, and I don't know. It's a
should this team just offer here's an iPad for kids?
Yeah, they bring them anyways.
The NFL has announced that there will be a shortened preseason, only 2 games this year. What do you think about that?
I'm not too worried about it. It's fine. Yeah, that's shortened. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
I guess. Yeah, I guess some of the low end of the roster might.
Right. It's the guys that might make it, but now I think what they'll end up doing is they won't the starters probably won't play hardly at all, right?
Yeah, they might play a quarter at the most in
Of
this
each
group.
game at most,
And
right?
then it's just gonna be about evaluating the other players.
So like those like fringe guys have like 2 shots
Yeah,
at making the roster, right? But I mean, I don't think the Chiefs are going to care, especially because
is
their
the
roster's pretty set.
well, this has been another exciting installment of the Warning Track Power Hour. I'm afraid though we are out of time, Andrew. Our legion of producers are pulling their hair out, saying we can't stay on for this long, so we're forced here to wrap it up. As always, I'm Mike Werman. He is Andrew Scaff. We are the Warning Track Power Hour. Please like us and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you'll get updated on whenever we have a new episode, which will be very, very, very often and very, very, very soon. So see you next time. See you, Andrew. Did we nail it this time, you think?
Totally nailed it.
Nailed it to our thumbs, maybe. So I think, Andrew, this is, again, your burgeoning video editing skills. I think this is going to be a real test of them to find a decent episode within all of this dross. And this reminds me of the first Godfather movie. At the beginning of the movie, the funeral director, the Undertaker, comes to Don Corleone and asks for a favor, and then Don Corleone says, "Well, that day, and the day may never come. I might will ask you a favor." And then later, of course, in the movie, when Santino gets blown away at the causeway at the toll booth, he's all shot up, and he says that this is going to take all of your powers to make Sonny look good enough to have an open casket so that his mother could look at him. I think this is going to be that test for you to somehow reassemble this
into something.
This into something that is good enough to be
a passable corpse.
A passable corpse, yes. Marina, massacre my boy.